vehicles, or that like the one that apparently drove into the crowd in Magdeburg tonight. Even now, on some of these images, you can still see these concrete blocks that have also been put there, but maybe not, and that will likely also be part of the investigation why this car was actually able to drive into the market and also so far into it and reaching so many people in the main crowd there.
Carlo, sometimes these things happen in a climate or in an environment where people are on edge, or sometimes in hindsight they describe an uptick in chatter or threats. I don't know enough to know if that's the circumstance here, but could you take us inside the climate and the threat environment in Germany right now?
I would actually say that I think the sense of the public in recent weeks when they've gone to Christmas markets like this, like here in the city of Munich, where I am tonight, is actually there hasn't been as much uneasiness as we've seen maybe years ago in, you know, the time frame from around 2015 to 2019, when there were a lot of ISIS-inspired attacks at the time. So security services here in Germany have often said that there's kind of there continues to be kind of an underlying current of threats, a lot of chatter, but nothing really concrete. So this will also be part of the investigation by police and other security services in the coming hours, days, if they might have picked up any chatter about this specific Christmas market. But I would say that overall, while there is a lot of uneasiness over the economic situation, over politics, it's actually been more relaxed at Christmas markets like this one compared to how it was several years ago.
Carlo, we have live images up, or images from a few moments ago, of the efforts to assist people who were injured. I do want to, just one time, play the footage that has emerged of the actual attack. I want to warn all of my viewers at home, if you need a second, it is graphic, but we're going to show you what we're seeing and able to report. An unbelievably horrific and heinous hallmark of these kinds of attacks. Obviously, people gathering ahead of the holiday, just 5 days ahead of the holiday there. Carlo, what sorts of things are we learning, if anything, about any of the victims?
I don't have any details on the victims yet, but the crowds that are at these Christmas markets in Germany, it really kind of goes across the board in terms of age, in terms of, where they're coming from. Oftentimes, you'll see 3-generation families who meet up at these Christmas markets, especially in the bigger towns like here in Munich, or in more famous Christmas markets like the one in Nuremberg. In northern Bavaria, you also have a lot of tourists, including from the U.S., who specifically come in for these Christmas markets. So you can assume that, this, or the group of victims in this incident was also, came probably from very different age groups, from very different backgrounds. It's really not probably a specific target of a certain group in this case.
And the person driving the car was, not injured in a manner that prevented him from being arrested. Do we have any information about whether or not he's talking to authorities?
We don't know that yet. There is a press conference or some press statements going on right now by the German state prime minister of or by the state prime minister of that German state. And we're hearing via the wire services that apparently the perpetrator is a doctor from Saudi Arabia and that he was arrested. But obviously, that investigation is ongoing at the moment. And so far, we don't know what the motive was. In the past, it's often been there, both from a terrorist attack all the way to psychiatric issues, and then sometimes you also had other health issues. But we'll see what comes out tonight and the next couple of days as this investigation is ongoing.
Carlo, I just want to make sure I understood you. The individual has been arrested, is the doctor?
Yes, that's correct. So the alleged perpetrator, the alleged driver of this vehicle is apparently a doctor by trade.
Wow. Carlo, we're grateful that you were on the scene there immediately. I've been watching your coverage over the last couple hours. Thank you for extending it and spending some time with us. Carlo Anger, thank you very much. We'll continue to follow this story. Frank Figluzzi will join us just a little bit from now as we learn more and to help us sift through the kinds of reporting that Carlo has already. We're going to turn to the other big story of the day, politics and news out of Washington, D.C., where the first major manufactured political crisis of the second Trump era is well underway, even before Donald Trump has been sworn in. It is a crisis that has led to Pentagon officials issuing warnings like this.
Without an appropriation or a continuing resolution, our troops will miss their end-of-month paycheck during the holiday season. Military reservists drilling after December 20 will not receive pay for those drills, and federal civilians that are required to work during a shutdown will not be paid. Civilian employees whose work is paid for from lapsed appropriations will be furloughed for the duration of the lapse, which appears to coincide with the Christmas and New Year's holidays.
Elon Musk wearing the Grinch costume well, no pay for the 2.1 million troops over the holidays. How exactly did we get here? As we reported during this hour yesterday, the government is barreling toward a possible shutdown. It's after Elon Musk led a rebellion against a bipartisan funding deal, and then Trump quickly followed in Elon's footsteps, only for a bill that met Musk's terms to go down in flames rather dramatically and quickly when dozens of Republicans joined the Democrats in killing it. Here's where things stand this afternoon. The situation remains very fluid, but the House is set to vote on a package that includes disaster relief, assistance for farmers, and keeping the government running until March. It would require a 2/3 majority vote, meaning Republicans would need Democratic support to pass this bill. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale is with us. Also joining us, former Democratic Senator, MSNBC political analyst Claire McCaskill's here. With me at the table, Democratic strategist Basil Smykel's here, and the president of the National Action Network and host of Politics Nation right here on MSNBC, the Reverend Al Sharpton's here. Ali Vitale, the Grinch gave me a cold, so I'll let you take over and bring us up to date on the latest.
And the Grinch is also giving us chaos, I guess, here on Capitol Hill as we try to wind down for the year. I don't know which of us has it worse, but as of now, we're still sort of in this limbo period, Nicolle, because about 2 hours ago, I was standing downstairs in one of the hallways of doom, as we like to call it, because it's where many of these huddles with Republicans often happen when they are reaching an inflection point or an impasse, and they need to get together to figure out what way they're going to go next. As folks emerged from that meeting, they were actually seemingly confident, not just that a government shutdown would be averted, but also that they had an operating plan for how they were going to do this. They were going to leave the debt ceiling or abolishing the debt by the wayside, basically chucking back the only thing that Trump and Musk actually asked for explicitly in this package. That's now by the wayside. And instead, they're going to sort of pull everything else apart, do a very skinny version of this initial government funding plan, and do it in 3 pieces. The first is just going to be basic government funding until mid-March. The second is going to be that disaster relief package we've often talked about. And the third is going to be an extension of the farm bill so that you don't run into bigger problems in your grocery store aisles because subsidies and other market prices don't remain fixed based on what the farm bill says. All of those things make sense. It's now just a question of the vehicle that they use to actually pass it and if they have the votes. The vehicle is going to have big implications on the second question, how many votes they need. Right now, it's looking like they're going to do it through a process called suspension, and that means that you need a 2/3 majority on the House floor. If you need a 2/3 majority, you need Democrats. Democrats have mostly been kept in the dark by this since the original bipartisan plan fell apart. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said the lines of communication have now been reopened, but my understanding in the last update that I got from my sources is that Democrats hadn't exactly been keyed in yet as to what this plan actually was, let alone been able to talk it over with their members. I think that's why we're now sort of in this quiet waiting period. We did hear from top Republicans who said there was going to be a vote today, maybe this afternoon, but here we are squarely in the afternoon playing the waiting game and waiting to see how this ultimately plays out.
Ali Vitali, why did Elon Musk kill the bill?
And that is the excellent question here, because you would think that Trump and thusly Musk had been apprised of what Johnson was negotiating over the course of these last several weeks. Johnson has been at him at Mar-a-Lago, but also at every sporting event, from wrestling to college football. It's not like these two guys haven't been in touch. And so the fact that Musk came in first and started sowing the seeds of discord and saying that he was going to primary members who voted for this original bill, then Trump comes in over the top and dunks on his top guy in the House and says, I'm not going to go for this unless you put the debt ceiling into it. The debt ceiling is its whole, in and of itself, a whole different negotiation. The idea that you could have negotiated this in 24 hours is just completely unfounded. It's partly why we see it on the cutting room floor right now, because it's just too thorny of an issue. But the why, I think, is really essential to this, and it's the one that we have not yet been able to tease out, other than Musk is trying to talk about this as a seeming extension of his Doge project, which is to cut wasteful spending from the government and to really take a look at fiscal responsibility. But not keeping the government's lights on doesn't seem like a moment of fiscal responsibility. And so you end up at this impasse of what is actually going on here.
Well, and Elon Musk owns this. I mean, I think whatever people think of him, he killed the bill. Here's what he killed. This is in the Bulwark. Cancer research for kids was collateral damage. Some of the hardest cuts to swallow involved medical research. In particular, the revised funding bill delivered a devastating blow to the fight against pediatric cancer. Anyone traveling has been all over the internet looking to see how it affects travel. TSA agents are bracing for paycheck freeze worries, according to NBC's latest reporting. What is Elon Musk's interest in cutting pediatric cancer research and TSA 3 days ahead of Christmas?
I think that this is more generally about the way that end-of-year spending bills get done. And this is actually not just Musk complaining about this, though he is certainly the one who's unelected and very active on social media with the money, frankly, and the following to actually have an impact on legislating. Put that concern aside for a moment, that an unelected citizen of this country can just do that. But you then look at some of the people here who have been sounding the alarm on this forever. It's the process of the way that people fund the government at the end of the year. We heard people likening this to Christmas trees, and I actually think it's an apt description, despite the fact that it's over